So now could you unmute your line?
Can you hear me,
Yes.
ladies and gents?
Fine, go ahead.
All right. Should I put on my video or keep the video off? Whatever
It's
you
up to
like.
you. It depends on how good a connection you have.
The connection should be good. I'm just in bed. That's the only problem. So, but otherwise, it's okay. Good. I'm good to go.
Go ahead.
Right. So, a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gents, wherever in the world you are. And that's actually the way we start our VR Academy class because VR Academy stands for Virtual Reality Academy. And our tagline is Create or I Am Possible or Create or Impossible. So my name is Sonal. I used to head a company, a German software company. And 2 years ago, we sold the company to Porsche SA Group in Germany. And then I quit my job. I didn't want to continue there anymore. I was responsible for Dubai and the Middle East and an Indian market. And I was very keen on doing something of my own. My brother was heading a gaming company really in India, also based in London as well. And we decided to do something quite different. So here I am today. I'm talking to you from Dubai. If you got any questions, you may ask perhaps after the presentation. In the PDF link, there are links to everything else. So what is VR Academy really? VR Academy is an online learning platform aiming for kids as young as the age of 9 and above to impart digital and design learning technology to young people. So often when you want to, let's take, for example, get into an industry like virtual reality, you would pick up a course from Udemy or an academy or something like that, or pick up a book. And there is very little guidance which is available on how you can actually develop your own amazing content in virtual reality. It's quite hard because most of the guys who are in this field would focus on software education. And when you are young, you really are, the least thing that you're bothered about is only software. We at VR Academy, we found the fact that actually there's a complete gap in reaching out kids and talking to them about design and how we can combine art and technology together into a beautiful marriage. A lot of work that we try to do at VR Academy is basically expanding the imagination of kids so that they can get away a little bit from the software learning and they can use traditional art so as to really create or unleash their imagination into an existing virtual present past or future world. And it is this imagination of kids that we are focusing on. With every kid, it's very important that they try to discover the source of imagination from inside of them. So mindfulness becomes an integrated part of what we try to imbibe in our e-learning platform, how you can use the technology of mindfulness to blend art and technology so that you can cast your dream in virtual reality. So we use technology as as an enhancer, as a tool to learn graphics and design processes so that kids can make their own virtual reality arts, films, or games. So the picture that you see on the right is maybe back in the previous slide. The picture that you see on the right is what one of the graduates, a 12-year-old girl from VR Academy, drew after. That's her interpretation of VR Academy, really, so to speak. Next slide. So here we are at VR Academy. Our inspiration, our tagline is that imagination is more important than knowledge. That's what Albert Einstein had put in a statement many, many years ago, because imagination is where you can embrace the entire world, whereby you can stimulate progress and give birth to evolution. Where we sit is, next slide, where we sit right now is to give this particular design education to the children. And that's exactly the difference between BlackBerry and Apple. While BlackBerry was an amazing tool, it had a lot of security, too many buttons, it didn't survive because it was not easy to use. Whereas Apple had a beautiful design and it survived. Can we not impart this design education to the kids? And the inspiration to create VR Academy for me came from the fact that when I saw my own kid as well, and I'll talk a little bit about that, with the COVID problem or pandemic, a lot of kids were thrown in at homes, and they were using a lot of technology, sometimes to learn things, sometimes to play things, but they were users of technology rather than being able to nurture their creativity with technology. And all of this led to a lot of boredom, and kids became more and more isolated. And we thought within our team that why don't we use the virtual reality platform so as a design tool, so to speak, where they could come and explore their minds through. And whether we talk about art and design or software development, these three elements have never ever been married together. Now, when I was a kid, I used to solve mathematics by just imagining art. People thought it was weird, but it was very quick for me to solve complex equations. So we truly felt that within our team that maybe there is a scope out over there. If you go to the next slide. And the biggest inspiration came from my own personal story. In March last year, my 10-year-old kid developed a rare autoimmune infection, and we were in hospital for about a month. It was really tough. But as a company, we were actually producing virtual reality for the big corporates. So we had just finished our own experience. We had put India's journey to the moon in a VR platform. India had launched a satellite to moon, which actually failed. But in VR, everything is possible. So in VR, the child or kid could just go in VR and he could navigate the lunar rover and learn a lot about science and gravity and whatnot. And he truly could forget all his pain and get reconnected with his own self. And he asked me, Papa, can I learn how you do this? And that was the start of VR Academy, so to speak, a very, very personal start. And 6 months down the line, more or less, we got our whole team funded, not whole project funded through self efforts. Next slide, please. And we gave birth to what is called VR Academy. So if you go to the next slide, please. So the creation of VR Academy comes from the company that I'm currently heading. It's me and my brother are partners in this company, and we create content, high quality content for corporates to build virtual reality. That's our studio in New Delhi. Next one, please. And we have done a lot of work for a lot of big names: Paramount Studios, EA Sports, FIFA, Google, and so on and so forth, to name a few. Now, this high quality product was either aimed at the gaming sector, was aimed at the corporate sector through exhibitions, whatever they wanted to do. If you go to the next slide. So PwC, for example, is one for big clients. We also build a lot of game titles for big corporates. These were never done under our name. So the Moon exhibition was the first one that we launched on our own. And when we did the Moon exhibition, the India Journey to the Moon, and we started working with kids directly, we knew that we were sitting on something great. And we did a couple of shows showing what this virtual reality experience was last year before the COVID pandemic hit. And a lot of these schools, teachers, parents, they said, well, they want their kid to learn how to build stuff in VR, not just use VR. So next one. And from there, we went on to the drawing board with my entire team, and we said, how can we create this complex, I would say, pipeline of building virtual reality feasible for kids? So we had to do a lot of experimentation. We did a couple of focus group studies with about 60 kids across the world in August. And we knew that it doesn't have to be software education. Because if you want to learn virtual reality, you would go and pick up a book. It will tell you file open, file close, do this, do that. That's not what kids want to do. Kids want to learn, and they want to get their hands dirty straight away. So can we not combine art and traditional tools so as to create something in virtual reality? And that's what we did with the creation of VR Academy, that every class is a combination of traditional art, plain drawing, and digital skills that you can enhance your drawings with. Next one, please. So what we do at
So now,
yeah.
Are you using a particular virtual reality authoring platform that you're training your audience on, these kids on?
Yes, I'll talk about the software that we use, but we have tried to keep the software open source as much as we can, because we don't want kids to get married to a certain device or a certain platform as such. So we use industry standard tools. So I'll talk about the tools that we use in a few slides. They will come down there. But the most important element is that from the age of 9, how can we use the art to communicate and express themselves. And here the children, they learn to work, first of all, with the basic theory of art or design. So if you want to be, for example, a fashion designer, you have to understand what really fashion means, perhaps, for example. What are different types of fabric? If you want to learn architecture, you must learn what is two dimensions or three dimensions. And at that young age of 9, you want kids to explore these tangible stuff, not just with technology, but with their own physical creativity by working with physical objects. Once you get a grasp on the physical object, you then go into tech. And I'll talk about the tech. If you go to the next slide. So we knew that whatever we want to do, we want to be able to engage with all the faculties of kid. And here again, 12-year-old girl has drawn this, when she finished, what she felt after graduating from a VR Academy class or a course. So she said that you use your feelings and emotions, you combine ideas coming out of music, the left and the right part of the brain. And of course, you want to study something, but what you do is exercise your imagination. You exercise the human brain to its fullest potential right from the age of 9. If we go to the next slide, please. So here we developed 3 bespoke courses, and it's the way things were. When there was a man in the Stone Age, he did not have any film or virtual reality or games. He was just drawing on his cave. So we thought that the first thing that we must use is to give the idea of design, creative design and digital art using virtual reality. When these pictures move, they turn into a film. And film is a very big expression. Kids want to make their YouTube videos, but they want to share it with their granny. And the granny might be located far away and they can't meet each other. Can they not just meet in VR and have their digital avatars and see the film together? But we wanted kids to learn how to make film, how to set up these VR rooms on their own so that they can interact. And then, of course, beyond that level is creating a game where you are the hero or the villain yourself. So they must learn how not just to play the games like Fortnite, but how they can create simple games itself. Now, when we did our research, if you go to the next slide, we came to know that we can't use one platform for everybody. There's a threshold in child's development between the age of 9 to 13 that they need to work with different set of tools. And after 13, they can use more advanced tools. So when we are working with younger kids in, for example, the game development technology that we want to give, the software we use is Autodesk Tinkercad, and that's available free of cost. You don't need to pay any money. It works in the cloud, so you can just work straight away. And we use Mozilla Mixed Reality as a tool to build VR. For kids who want to build complex games, we introduce them to Unity and a little bit of programming using C#. But the focus is not programming, because we can help them to program. The focus is to have that idea of building something like Pac-Man or Pokemon or whatever it is that they want to come up with. Kids who are 13 plus, we currently have a program in 3D Studio Max, but we are converting it into Blender from actually next week onwards, which is open source as well, and it doesn't cost to start downloading and working with it. Now the classes have been built, the curriculum has been built in an intensive way. What we have right now is basically a class which is classes which are set up into 2 different terms. The introductory term, which is led by the tutor, and then a practical term, which is kids' own project to create something amazing. So in the second term, they unleash whatever their ideas are and bring them to material. There are 2 classes per week, so it's a bit intensive, and there are about maximum 8 to 9 kids in a group, no more than that. Otherwise, we can't focus on the classes. Now, these classes have been costed in a way that they are quite, I would say, affordable for kids, not just from the US. We have a different pricing mechanism for India and developing countries. So this is $699 per term. If we go down to the next one itself, the graphic design is 1 term, but at $415 per term. And the next one, which is a film design, again, where they are learning they start to learn how to create animation using Scratch. Now, Scratch, again, is open source and is free. More seniors, they learn it using Adobe Premiere, and then they get into Unity and C#. And here again, the class is more or less, that's the maximum retail price that we've got at $559. Now, if you go ahead, why are we really doing this thing? The biggest focus for us was how we can, if you go to the next slide, please, how we can create some of the, can we go to the next slide, please? Sorry. How we can not just give the software tools, which are all mentioned over here, and most of them are open source, and kids have got free access to them. Not just that, but how we can work on creative skills of kids, critical thinking, imagination, visualization, digital design, and more importantly, storytelling. That's the key. The kids love to explain their stories. Can they not learn and create something which will be their wonderful wow forever? Next one, please. So in more or less summary, the biggest impact for creating VR Academy is allowing kids to imagine, to create, and collaborate in virtual reality. Eventually, they put whatever their projects are, whether it's art or film or game, straight away into VR, and they can interact with it with their friends and with their family. So they are not just experiencing VR, but they are creating it, so to speak.
How do you
And
go to market? Is this a B2C business? Is it are you selling to schools? What's the you talk a lot about the experience. Where is the go-to-market strategy?
It's there. I'll just explain that. So our target profile is basically parents of children above the age of 9, so to speak. And we are looking at English-speaking countries because we speak English. Our tutors who are located in disparate locations all the way from Ireland to UK to Dubai and India, they all speak very good English. That's our target profile. And if you look at the market strategy, we just launched our platform literally 2 weeks ago. That's where we are right now. And if you go to the next slide, it really talks about our marketing strategy. We know where we are compared to people like White Hat Junior, Class VR, Udemy, and so on and so forth. Nobody offers design education, combining it with technology education so far. We know, so there's a market for that. What we also want to do, and something which was skipped in the previous slides, is that we are curating whatever content the students do in virtual reality. So we have designed an experience like the Tate in VR, but here the Tate is not just of famous artists, but of your kid. So let's take maybe your nephew, for example. Samarana has, for example, she has created, sorry, niece, she has created a beautiful piece of art. It can be living in Tate forever. And it's an alternate to Instagram, which we want to create, where we are.
So I really would like to focus on go-to-market strategy.
Okay, next slide, and that's the last slide, so to speak, from our end. So these are our pathways to market. We are looking at B2B2C partnerships. We are starting with GEMS education in Dubai. GEMS have got 100,000 kids mainly around Dubai and Qatar. And these are high-paying, I would say, parents who are expat parents, and they have the ability to pay. They are one of the main, I would say, pathways into kids. We have collaborated with Children's SOS Village in India, where our objective is very simple: that who pays the fee, we pick up a child who cannot pay or does not have access to technology from the SOS villages. These are orphans. We have got kids in India.
Sonal, hang on. What is the deal with GEMS education?
They are just brokers, to be honest, in education. They will take a 20% fee cut because VR is kind of niche and chic. So they will give access to the parents, and they will take a 20% cut over any fee that we make out of the school. Having said that, that's at one end of consumer market.
One second. You're going too fast, and you're not focusing on what I'm trying to focus on, which is customer acquisition strategy. How long would it take if they have access to 100,000 parents? How long would it take you to convert that audience into paying customers of your product?
Yeah, so we have access to a few of these kids anyway. What I wanted to demonstrate is that in the first quarter, having about 300 kids that we can either have access to paying customers or unpaying customers, but people who like what we do, to demonstrate our MVP. Only this week we got a letter from Rosenberg Institute, which is a boarding school in Switzerland. They call themselves as artisans of education, where I knew the deputy head teacher. And if you liked our curriculum, we did a few free classes, and they're going to give us 45 kids. We have also talked to Copenhagen Institute of Design. They will give us about 25 postgraduate kids, teenagers that we can work with. We are working with School of Planning and Architecture, where again they will give access to about 60 first-time architects who can expand into it. So some of them are paying customers, and with Children's SOS Village, we will have about 35 kids who are in SOS villages across New Delhi and Pune who would also join desperately. We have so far got about 25 kids who enrolled organically through basic messages. We haven't even had our campaign sorted out on LinkedIn, on social media like Facebook, etc. But our Q1 target would be, it'll be amazing if we can get about 500 kids enrolled in the first quarter. We have a marketing budget internally from my savings, looking at Instagram, Facebook adverts, and mainly YouTube adverts. This is going to be our primary focus market, and the focus market is very, very small around the Gulf paying countries so that we can then cross-subsidize our efforts into India. These are the type of numbers which we are looking at, more or less, so to speak. So by the end of year one, we are looking at about $3 million business going up exponentially in the coming few years. And you would like to do VR, you would like to put yourself into VR Academy, because if you really want your child not just to become a robot to learn how to code, if he must understand that why is he coding and the real purpose behind it and put his design hat on, then probably he can do a better job, not just at coding, but being a better human in totality.
So now what brings you here?
I just saw you and I felt that it would be really interesting. And of course, we definitely need capital as well, access to capital, because I would run out fast if we don't get some cash injections. So I thought that I'll come over here and learn from you.
Let me give you a few pieces of feedback. The projections that you're making would only make sense to an investor. Like if I'm listening to this pitch as an investor, there are a few things that I want to see. And the number one is, how are you going to get this business to paying customers? Is it a B2B business or is it a B2B2C business? B2B2C is what you're most likely going to succeed with. And the school examples that you're talking about resonate with me. The high-end schools that want to provide differentiated curriculum, which means that you need to identify, let's say 100, 200, 500 really high-end schools and create a sales strategy. We use a sales strategy called Sales 2.0, that we call it Sales 2.0, and we have a whole methodology that we apply to scaling and making it a repeatable system. So something like that is what would convince me. If you can show that you can validate that, yes, I can, call up these schools and I can dialogue with them, demonstrate what we are doing, and they're willing to sign up, 50 kids, 80 kids, 100 kids, whatever. That to me is a reasonable path of customer acquisition. The GEMS thing is a reasonable path to customer acquisition, but you're going to need to show validation. That sounds like an interesting channel. What doesn't sound like a very interesting channel, unless you can show very precise conversion economics, unit economics of conversion, are these social media channels, Instagram and so on and so forth. Unless you can show me, if I put in $1 million into your company, how is that going to convert? What is the equation of conversion of that $1 million into, $3 million, $5 million of revenue? Unless you can show me that based on your social media campaign, I would not buy into that strategy. So we have a saying in 1 million by 1 million, do not spray and pray. Come up with a strategy and execute the hell out of that strategy. And I think, based on my experience, the strategy that is more likely to pay for you is going for very high-end schools. And you should focus on the age category. If you're jumping around to architecture students and, blah, 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 who are much older, that's a different business. I think if you're, it's not clear to me what business you're in right now because you're jumping around so much. You know, architecture, okay, well, if architecture is your goal, then go after the architecture schools. If design schools or fashion schools is your goal, go after that, because each of those strategies are going to take your product in a different direction. But don't jump around 9 to 13 middle school students, architecture and planning, then fashion this and fashion that. This is not a convincing pitch for an investor. Make sense?
Yeah, okay, absolutely. So we just kept ourselves open right now. That's why whoever came.
No, don't keep yourself open. People do not succeed with startups by keeping themselves open. People succeed in startups by laser sharp positioning. Positioning is the make or break secret of startups.
Yeah, today morning only we had a meeting with Froige in Ireland, which is basically a youth teenage organization. They have got access to 50,000 kids. They are doing some sort of home learning right now in technology, and they were really keen. So we are waiting for them. Maybe we start on an experiment. The problem is always the affordability of people, because people who want to maybe get into this, kids who are really motivated into this.
That is exactly what positioning is. You position your product to a category of customers who can afford it. You should forget all about catering to Indian, underprivileged or underserved category and all that for the moment. Right now, you can do all that when you become rich, and you can do philanthropy. Right now, you need to focus absolutely sharply on rich parents who can afford to pay the kind of fees that you're looking for. That is your positioning, and that means you need to go for high-end schools and sell B2B2C through very high-end schools. So make a list of the highest end schools that you want to go after, and start a sales process on that. That's your that's the fastest path to validation, and that's the fastest path to your becoming a viable business.
Agreed.
And to attract investment.
Sure, agreed. Thank you.
All right. We are going to go to Moibi. Hang on. Maureen, is there a pitch deck for Moibi's pitch?
Yes.
Maybe you're speaking a lot of noise.
I can hear you very well. Yeah, good evening.
We can hear you. Please go ahead, but
okay. Yeah, good evening. I can hear you clearly. So, but let me do some things. What about now?
Yeah, better, much better. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Good evening. This is Zali 601 in Nigeria. So, good morning to you over there, and good afternoon to some other colleagues across the world. So, my name is Moibi Ismail. I'm a co-founder of We Consortium Limited. You know, here in Africa and Nigeria, we find ourselves in a society whereby individuals and communities have assuming the responsibility of governments. You know, here people on their own efforts, they provide roads, they provide water, they provide electricity, and some other infrastructure needed by themselves. So why We Consortium came on board to see how we can facilitate and accelerate this effort of individuals and communities. Here is not a news when you are living in the street and all of a sudden your transformer gets blow up, maybe by one issue or the other. So people assume the responsibility automatically by coming together to see how they are going to install these facilities on their own. And I'm sure you must have heard a lot from Africa that now China is taking a lot of ride on Africa in terms of helping Africa out in infrastructure development. And that's forced a lot of African leaders' hands to make sure that they took some loan, even though under some stringent conditions. So what we want to do generally, basically, is to see how we are going to crowdfund into public infrastructure. You know, we consortium is...
That's a very ambitious idea.
Yes, we consortium is what we want to, our market basically is in two areas. We want to have what we call investors and want to have what we call partners. Investors, here, you know, we all know that infrastructure financing is a huge business, and it's meant for the big guys, meant for corporate institutions. And we have very few of such institutions doing that in Nigeria, and particularly in Africa as well. But using our technology, we want to democratize infrastructure investment opportunities. We want to make sure that it's available for everyone using the crowdfunding platform. We want people to co-fund and co-invest into public infrastructure. Since people are doing this already, it's not strange for them, but how are they now going to be getting profit or getting benefit from this investment they are used to is why we consortium came on board. So we majorly our customers acquisition. So we intend to roll out. We've been talking already to a lot of people, and people are ready to partner with us, and they are expressing their mind already. They are expressing the positivity towards these ideas, and we really don't. Yes.
I'm going to stop you there and start giving you some feedback, because you have a lot of slides with lots of text. And I think we need to zero in on a path forward if this is what you want to do. First and foremost, public infrastructure is a very large scope. You cannot build this business if you go so large and so broad. I'll tell you exactly the same thing that I just told Sonal. Sonal, compared to what you are doing, Sonal is like really well positioned, because he has at least, zeroed in on 9 to 13-year-old kids, and he has some, deviations here and there, but he has already focused in a lot more. You are so broad and so all over the place. You will not be able to get this into something manageable unless you start focusing things into bite-sized pieces that can be tackled by a private company. You are going to be a private company that will have to make money and survive as a sustainable business. And that requires very, very tight positioning. So the first homework you should take away from this call, Moibi, is to come up with a category of infrastructure projects.
We already have that. We've already zeroed in on that.
Let me finish. Can you let me finish?
Okay, ma'am.
You have to listen. The first thing you need to do is come up with a category of infrastructure projects that are not too expensive. So these are small infrastructure projects. And what is that? If you have all these categories identified, give me an example of a category of infrastructure project, public infrastructure project, that is not very expensive to build.
Okay, the first area that we categorize on is, one, we are focusing on local communities. We are not going to the uptown cities, local environment. And what we want to start from is focusing on replacing electricity transformer. That is just the major thing. When a community light gets fault, the community is expected to fix the transformer. Nobody is even expecting government or anybody to do that. They know that it's their responsibility. But the problem is that it takes them many months before they gather or before they were able to replace this. So where we want to come in is to come in to see how we are going to provide them this transformer and make the payments flexible to them, and which at the end of the day, we are going to reduce the stubbornness or the darkness periods for them, and we are going to definitely make our money from that.
Okay, let's take this use case of replacing a local transformer for a local community. Here are the questions that we need to answer based on this use case. Number one, are we trying to get the local people who are going to be the users of this transformer to finance this project? And you're trying to crowdfund from the local community the the money that is required to do this.
Yes, what we intend to, that is exactly what we want to do. We are going to open the sponsorship to everyone, and which at the end of the day, the local community, they pay for these facilities.
That's a different business. When you're trying to create local infrastructure funded by the users of that facility themselves, that is less of an investment, more of a just like taking care of your own needs. Because if you're talking about bringing in investors who expect a return by investing in this project, then you have to provide what is the ROI, what is the IRR, etc., of doing this. And that's that's a whole do you have the calculation of like if a random investor, not somebody who's going to be a user of this facility, somebody from the outside wants to come and invest in this project, can they actually get a return on this investment? And how are you going to give them that return? That is the question, right? You have two different audiences based on
Yes.
the case that you have provided. Let's say this is your MVP. You're going to do this local transformer replacement as your MVP. You're going to find, 100 communities that each want to replace their local transformers. You will provide the crowdfunding infrastructure to do that. And that's how you're going to start this out. You have still two questions. Is it just the local users who are going to be participating in this crowdfunding campaign, or are you trying to bring in external investors looking for returns? That's a whole different ballgame.
Yes, we are going to definitely, we are bringing in external investors, majorly retail investors. They are going to participate in this project, and which at the end of the day,
is there a return in replacing
yes, definitely. Yes, there is a return. They are going to definitely get a return. In our investment plan, we have majorly three types of investment plan. We have what we call basic investments, we have medium investment, and we have premium investment. And in basic investments, as a retail investor, you are expected to invest like a minimum of $500. And why as medium investor, you are expected to invest minimum of $10,000. Why as premium investor, you're expected to invest minimum of $100,000 for different investment durations. We have 1 year, we have 2 years, we have 3 years, and we have 5 years, and with different return. For our 1 year, our return is structured in a way whereby it's ranging between 15 to 25% rate interest for the investors based on the duration of their investment. And also this investment, this fund, what we are going to be working, our company are not the one that will be responsible for replacing the transformer. We are going to be working with a lot of local developers. We are going to have them on board. Ours is to focus on investment platform. And but our target area that our interest goes is local project, local infrastructure. But we are going to be working with a lot of local investors. And local developers, why our investors can come from any part of the world.
Okay, so Moibi, my guidance to you is be specific, find a category that you understand how to present that has enough returns. If you're trying to get real investors, then you need to have categories that actually can provide returns on investment, and you need to be able to explain, or they need to be able to explain the return on investment. Your question I will answer. You can outsource the development. It's very easy. Go to Upwork and find a vendor, go through the process of recruiting a good vendor who can, if you have a good spec of what you're trying to develop, you can hire somebody from, India or Eastern Europe or somewhere, or probably even in Africa, there are developers on Upwork who will be willing to do it for you and just outsource the development. Okay?
Yes. That's exactly what we intended.
All right.